And to fix any old classic car, you need a classic bit of machinery. Now look at this Snap-on engine cylinder digital scope. So I pulled this out the back of the garage and it is amazing, because not only does it still switch on, I think it's going to help me fix this car. So let's run through some of the things that it does, see if we can actually fix this old Porsche 914. This bit of classic technology is something that just keeps on ticking, and I've found a new feature on it, so I'm really going to use that. I'm really excited to try and get it to fix this car, but it's never ran right. I've got it running a lot more sweeter, but it's nowhere near. I just need to be happy that it's right. It struggles starting, it struggles keeping idling, and it just feels off on one of the cylinders, and that's just literally moving out onto the road, turning it around, bringing it back. So first of all, I'm going to get the car running, hopefully put some subtitles down the bottom, and we'll run through what this does. Anyway, we switch it on, and it actually remembers the last sequence. It takes a while. So we're on a 4-cylinder, and it asks you to put in the fire in order, or you can have the option to alter it. I've already put the fire in order in. So the fire in order is quite important. I need to press yes. Is it correct? Yes. Now the great thing with this, I've not got any instructions for it, but you've got a load of instructions as well. More importantly, where to put all the connections. That's built in. And run through the pattern. So let's go primary pattern. That's what you're expecting to see. So you can actually run through each of the cylinders. Let's turn that down a little bit. That might be a little bit. There are some little lines running across there. That's probably a little bit easier for you to see. So primary pattern on all those. So if we go to the secondary pattern, that's what it's expecting to see. So you could actually see if one of the electrodes or one of the pickups on the Dizzy wasn't right. You could help analyse one of them. This goes up to an 8-cylinder vehicle. We've got duel angle, so it's able to measure the duel, which is the adjustable points inside the Dizzy, on all of those. So you'll be able to see if there's any massive variation, which can be a sign of Dizzy shaft worn out, because it actually runs on a cam. So it'll give you an average, which is pretty much what we're looking for. Look that up online. Which the duel angle is basically how much the coil is being energised, and then the other half is de-energised. KV graph, I'm never too sure on this one, I'll be honest. Gives you the RPM, minimum, maximum, but I never really see much of a difference on those. Right, fuel and alternator. So alternator pattern, that's ideal to see a charging pattern, as if one of the bushes were out, or something to do with the rectifier. Fuel injection pattern. Look at this, it can measure fuel injection. So let's go through some of the sensors. There's the one that measures the kingpin, which is basically getting the primary. We've got something on the Dizzy, which is able to measure the RPM and do this new feature which I've just found out. Over there we can just see a voltage pickup, and of course one of the ones, number 1 lead, so it knows where number 1 lead is. Well, first off, we've got to make sure that the two sides are balanced. So I'm going to get a run in and actually disconnect one side of the carburetors just to try and match the RPM. That's going to be a good starting point. Then we'll go back and recheck it just to make sure it's fine before we start messing around. And I'm itching to show you this new feature I've sussed out. I didn't even know it existed. I didn't even know it was possible. The main thing is to get the two sides to be pretty much balanced off the balance screw. I'm only going to run through this very briefly. So that's showing 6.5 to 7. On the other side, again 6.5 to 7. So I'm quite happy with that. Do need to get the RPM a little bit higher. So we could either use that, which is very, very general, or we could actually run off that. I'd be happier with that. So we'll just go through this as it's running. Right, we're on the primary pattern. That's primary pattern. 2, 3, and 4. I find it easy to do that one, even though we're not going through the firing order. So with the pickup, it's able to determine which cylinder we're on. That's on those. Yeah, 7. That's showing 6. 7. Well, I might have found the source of some of the problems. Could never get. I was always unhappy with number 4, and then I'd done the old sniff test where you actually spray a little bit of combustible substance, which is brake cleaner in this one, just around number 4 inlet, and it shot up in value. So I'm going to strip it down and actually have a look at the inlet manifold to make sure that's fully sealed. So I quickly pulled that off, and it all looked fine. The bolts, yeah, were tight, so I'm just going to put a little bit more sealant just on the edge of there, and then just make sure that it's, again, all tight, and recheck it. I'm going to do the same on both sides, just to double check everything is fine. That is a rubberized gasket, but I'm just going to put a little bit of sealant around the top, just to make sure that it's bang on. Right, I might have actually caused the fault myself, I'm not really too sure. This, everything come off, everything looked alright, but this little bit of cowling that went over it was just really tight around it. I've actually trimmed it to be able to get it that close, so there's a possibility that just on there it might have just been tucked in and just caught it a little bit and stopped it from going all the way home. So you can see there's a little bit of movement in there, and it's all sealed up. So that might have been, I did struggle to get that on, but I was fairly certain it actually not overlapped or actually got caught up in the gasket, but we never know. So, carburetor back on. Everything's a little bit more balanced. That's a little bit more sensible. So 1, 2, 3. See, that's more of a sensible number across the board. Don't mind that it fluctuates ever so bit. When we do the shorting graph, this feature is just amazing. I do like it. So what I'm doing is going to knock off each cylinder. So whichever cylinder, it definitely feels like there's one off. Whichever cylinder doesn't really make much of a difference, we know it's already misfiring on that one. So if you've got 3 cylinders, so you've got 4 cylinders, and only 3 of them are really working, and you take the dodgy one out, it's not going to change the RPM. Whereas if you take away the good ones, it's going to affect the engine RPM quite a bit. So let's go through. I'm going to do 3. So I'm checking out on 3, so let's try again. 1, 2. Just let it recover. 2. Try 2 again. I'll just blink the throttle a little bit. Okay, that's made a big difference, hasn't it? No. Okay, right, number 4. Okay, so number 3, right, that's all sensible, that's fairly consistent, quite happy with those being close. Number 3, so I'm going to adjust the fuel in the number 3 just by my ear to see when the engine RPM drops. Making that a little bit richer. Okay, the RPM has dropped. Not a lot. So let's just go through it. Let's do number 4 again. See how that settles. almost there. It's not quite exactly where I want it, but we'll just run through all of them once again, see if it's got an equal drop. If it's got an equal drop, I'm quite happy that everything's more or less balanced on all the carbs, which isn't quite the right way to do it. There's other ways to do it by ear, but it's been that long since I've actually messed around with carbs, and I don't have a gas analyzer, so all I've got is my nose, a little bit of electrical equipment, and a lot of luck, and the rain has stopped. So, welcome to Tuning in the UK. This is the sort of thing that you enjoy watching. Subscribe to the channel. If you've got through to this far and you're just waiting for results, hopefully I'm happen quite soon. But I'm always messing around doing something quite random, as this is. And anyone who knows me would probably be saying, what the hell are you doing with the old bit of kit? This is the sort of stuff you need to tune a nice old car. Look at it, beautiful. As we seen last night, it actually ran a lot more better, and if we start it up, it does actually run smooth. Now, I had to cut it short last night, partly because it was raining, and the machine stopped working. So my beautiful Snap-on machine decided it was just going to stop. So it's nothing to do with the rain. Honestly, it was covered. So I'm able to switch it on. Reset button kicks in. It remembers all the information. I've gone to the menu screen once and not been able to go any further. So if we just press 1, nothing. 2, nothing. Press all the buttons, nothing. But I thought I'd open it up and just have a little look inside. So look at this. Look at this for technology. This is amazing. I've done the obvious and actually checked the lead in and out, see if anything's happened. So we'll just leave it to dry out, even though I actually opened this up last night and there was no water inside it. There's no signs of any drippage. So could that be the end of my lovely Snap-on machine? I hope not. So if you know how to fix one of these, got any wiring diagrams, operating manuals, or anything useful, I'm sure that would be very much appreciated. Just leave something in the comments below and I'll get in touch. And I've got a feeling I'm not going to hand it to my local Snap-on guy, because realistically I very much doubt anyone in the factory will even know how to service one of these, never mind repair it. And how much would it be to repair? Snap-on charges quite a lot really for even the basic repair. So let's go on and just adjust the points slightly. They're ever so slightly out. So I'm going to show you a different way with a multimeter, which I'm going to show you on a little bit more of an advanced multimeter. Some of them have got the dual angle. So I am using a fluke because that's what I've got. But if yours also reads RPMs and dwell cycle, this is something you'd be able to do. So we're on 5-cylinder. I've set it over to the angle. 6-cylinder, 8-cylinder, 3-cylinder, 4-cylinder. It's dead easy. The air. So basically, this lead that comes in from the condenser switches it on and off the point. So it's basically just a contact switch. So we put that on there. Let's put that on the positive. Put that one on the negative, and that is reading 43. So let's just tweak that a little bit. So what we have here, there's a little contact breaker. So it's a nice simple switch, mechanical switch, which basically then comes out and feeds the dizzy. So that also gives you tachometer speed via that. So what we do is we undo that screw a little bit and then we adjust it just to tweak one way, not sure which way, and then tighten that up. Put it back on for a start, see if she starts. If she doesn't start, put it back to where you were and start again, possibly tweaking it the other way slightly, and then re-measure. Nope, that wasn't it. Let's turn it around the other way. Or if you manage to completely cock up the settings, as I just have, you can always refer back to the Haynes manual and a set of feeler gauges and set it as per book, which is normally the best way you should do it. So the book basically states I need to put it in second gear, roll it till one of the peaks of the cams are actually on the roller, and then insert a feeler gauge. So let's do that. So now we've got it on the high spec of the cam, we can see how massive that gap is. That is way too big. So the gap we're supposed to use, 0.4 of a mil or a 1/16 of an inch. I don't understand inches. That's the correct size feeler gauge, and look at how much room we've got there. So I've gone too far. So we'll be able to see how little position it really needs to adjust. You can see pushing it that way takes it away, pushing it that way takes it towards it. There's not much of a gap it needs, so we're just going to tighten it up there. And just work the feeler. You know what, I could get it a little bit closer. Get it a little bit closer. So just a little bit of resistance on there. So it's almost like you're filing it. Just that sort of resistance on it. And remember to knock it out of gear before you start again. Bang on 47 to 49, that's exactly where it should be. I'm happy with that. Now it's fluctuating a little bit up and down. Let's just take the RPM slightly higher. Well, I hope you agree, that's a little bit better. It certainly sounds a lot more sweeter. So by no means is this a proper tutorial on how to set it up, but we've got it close, we've got it running a hell of a lot better. I'd still want to get it on a gas analyzer just to make sure that all the values are right, and a proper rolling road tune, but I think I'm happy it's in that position that it can actually go for a drive and still be exciting, fun, interesting. So I really want to see what it's like. So in the next episode we're going to take it out for a little bit of a road test, and hopefully by then I managed to fix my little sun diagnostic machine. I'm looking at it in horror. It's a really good tool. I'm so excited. Maybe I've worn it out using it too much. Maybe a little water has got in there and it shorted something out. Really do need to tear it down and have a good little look around the circuit boards. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this has inspired you to go and tinker with your vehicle, even if it's not one of these, even if it hasn't got carburetors. How hard can it be? We're able to do everything at home to a fairly reasonable degree. I think I'm going to have to get myself something air cooled. This has inspired me. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, months, years, I'll have something that's air cooled. So there's a couple of ways you can support the channel. You can either share, like, subscribe. Remember, all those things do not cost you anything, and if you want to unsubscribe in a couple of years, that's fine, I won't feel offended. Check down some of the links in the description below. You can always buy me a coffee. I do seem to drink a lot more coffee when I'm at home. So once again, share, like, subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. Ta-da.